My name is Harper Johnson, and if you'd told me 10 years ago that I'd be worth over $20 million before 30, I might have laughed in your face, then gone back to studying tort law at Yale just to please my mother. I'm the daughter of Karen and Richard Johnson, Connecticut royalty in their own minds. Growing up in Greenwich felt like living inside a snow globe, perfectly staged, suspiciously spotless, and impossible to breathe in without someone tapping the glass to remind you of your place. On the outside, we were the picture of success. Our white colonial home was repainted every other year, the lawn trimmed weekly by the same landscaping crew my father bragged about hiring under market rate, and every family Christmas card looked like it belonged on a Hallmark shelf. But inside? Let's just say perfection has a price. My mother, Karen Johnson, Miss Connecticut 1989, never lost the pageant smile, but I learned young that her affection had strings thicker than the pearls she wore to every charity luncheon. My father, Richard Johnson, built his entire identity on bank balances and country club invitations. He taught my brother and sister how to read stock tickers before they mastered multiplication tables. And me? I was the defective middle child who ruined every perfectly posed family photo by asking why. Why can't I wear black instead of pastels? Why must we host dinner parties for people we can't stand? Why is everyone so desperate for the neighbor's approval? By 19, I was Yale-bound like the dutiful Johnson offspring I was bred to be. But by 22, I realized I cared more about stopping cyber fraud than debating constitutional amendments. Dropping out of law school triggered an uproar so loud I can still hear my father's fist pounding the dining table that Thanksgiving. Fast forward 7 years, 2 near bankruptcies, and countless nights surviving on stale coffee and ambition, I sold my cybersecurity startup, Security Shield, for $40 million. My personal cut? Just over $20 million after paying investors and rewarding the team who stuck by me when my own family wouldn't answer my calls. Yet despite Forbes profiles and surprise calls from people who used to ghost me, at home, I'm still the disappointment. The Johnsons can't quite forgive a black sheep who found her way without the family crest stamped on every success. But last week, when my mother texted me in all caps that I was banned from our family's vacation home for creating unnecessary tension, she underestimated me. She forgot that the daughter she'd tried to shrink down to a manageable size had built an empire from nothing. And now? Let's just say next week they'll discover just how much of that empire I'm willing to use to remind them who I really am. Stay tuned, because this is just the beginning. People think that growing up wealthy means you're handed everything on a silver platter: confidence, love, stability. They don't see what's carved into that silver, the invisible price tag attached to every smile, every compliment, every seat at the family table. In the Johnson household, you didn't just follow rules, you embodied a brand. My mother, Karen, is the sort of woman who can organize a hospital gala for 500 donors and make each one feel like her best friend. The smile never falters, but her eyes are hard as diamonds when she scans you for weaknesses. My father, Richard, can close million-dollar deals over golf and lectures you on ROI before you're old enough to spell it. For my brother Jason and sister Amanda, the script was easy: go Ivy League, marry up, replicate the exact suburban fantasy my parents called success. Jason wears custom suits and talks about hedge funds like they're bedtime stories. Amanda, armed with an art history degree she never used, is the master of tastefully redecorating her mansion for every season and flaunting domestic bliss on Instagram. Then there's me, Harper, the Johnson glitch. The one who wore black to Easter brunch and asked awkward questions at charity galas. The one who skipped the debutante ball my mother planned for a year. Every argument ended the same way: Harper, why must you be so difficult? At first, I tried. I really did. I kept my head down long enough to earn my ticket to Yale, briefly tasted the pride in my father's voice. But the moment I realized I'd rather chase hackers than courtrooms, it all fell apart. When I dropped out of law school to start my cybersecurity company, Security Shield, you'd think I'd confessed to a murder. No one backed me. Not my father with his investment contacts, not Jason with his finance buddies, not Amanda's doctor husband who laughed at my business plan. I was alone, renting a moldy Brooklyn closet with two strangers and a second-hand laptop. My mother called it a rough patch in polite conversation, conveniently forgetting she'd once declared I'd ruin the family's reputation. For 7 years, I hustled, pitching to venture capitalists who saw my potential while my own family pretended I didn't exist. And when Security Shield finally blew up, Forbes called me a genius. The Johnsons? They called me lucky, but luck didn't build my company. And it won't save them from what's coming. Because when my mother banned me from the resort we vacationed at for 20 years, she didn't just draw a line, she dared me to cross it. Guess what, mother? Challenge accepted. You'll want to stick around for how this family feud ends. Trust me, when I told my father I was dropping out of Yale Law to chase cybercriminals instead of courtroom victories, he slammed his fist so hard on our dining table that my mother's antique china rattled like an earthquake. I can still hear him shouting, "No daughter of mine throws away an Ivy League degree for some basement hacker fantasy." But I wasn't just dropping out. I was breaking the only rule that ever really mattered in our family: protect the Johnson name at all costs. My mother wept over her linen napkin, whispering about the Henderson's daughter, who'd just made junior partner at a corporate firm. Meanwhile, her daughter was about to become a college dropout with an untested idea and zero safety net. That night, I packed one suitcase, left my parents' perfectly polished colonial house, and moved into a shoebox Brooklyn apartment with two roommates I'd found on Craigslist. We shared a bathroom with mold on the ceiling and heating that barely worked through winter. I survived on instant noodles and stale coffee because every dollar I scraped together went into Security Shield, my little fortress against the cyber threats no big bank even realized were coming yet. I wish I could say genius struck overnight. It didn't. There were days I stared at my laptop in that freezing bedroom, wondering if my father was right, if I'd thrown my future away for a daydream. Twice, Security Shield came so close to bankruptcy that I literally chose between paying my engineers or paying rent. I chose my engineers every time. I pitched to more investors than I can remember. Most looked at me too young, too female, too stubborn, and politely declined. A few laughed in my face, but a handful said yes. And that handful saved me. I hired brilliant coders, built a security suite that banks now swear by, and outmaneuvered competitors twice my size. And when the Wall Street Journal called me for an interview about our IPO rumors, I laughed. An IPO? I was still eating instant ramen 3 nights a week. But 3 months ago, a major tech giant knocked on my door, figuratively, and offered $40 million to acquire my company outright. After paying back my loyal investors and giving my team the bonuses they deserved, I walked away with just over $20 million to my name. Suddenly, everyone who ignored me remembered my number. Old classmates asked for job referrals. Reporters called me a visionary. And my family? They sent a group text, "Congratulations on your lucky break, Harper." Lucky. As if they had any idea what it cost me to get here. But now that same lucky break is about to cost them the thing they value most: control. Stick around. This story is just heating up. If there was ever a chance to finally prove to my family that I wasn't the disappointment they whispered about at country club dinners, I believed this summer was it. After Security Shield sold, after Forbes plastered my face under 30 under 30, after all the backhanded "congratulations on your lucky break, Harper," I needed to show them what real success looked like. Every August for 20 years, the Johnsons have descended on Blue Water Cove Resort in coastal Maine like royalty returning to a private kingdom. Villa Serenity, our oceanfront cottage with wraparound porch and a view worth 1,000 bragging rights, has been my mother's pride since my father's first big promotion. For me, it was the only place my family ever felt remotely close. Sandcastles with Dad, sunrise walks with Jason, even Amanda used to smile there once. This year was special. Dad's 60th birthday would fall smack in the middle of Blue Water Week. And for the first time in my life, I could do more than show up. I could pay for everything. I called the resort in June and told them to upgrade us in every way possible. An extra villa for Jason's kids, a private sunset cruise for Mom and Dad, a couple's spa package Amanda and Gregory always talked about but never bought. I even found the perfect watch for Dad, a Patek Philippe Nautilus with a custom blue dial that matched the cove's ocean, engraved with his initials and the villa's coordinates. It took months to get. It cost more than my first car. I booked everyone first-class tickets as a surprise. Spent thousands on a new vacation wardrobe my mother couldn't possibly sneer at. Linen dresses, pearl earrings, sandals elegant enough for her standards. I told myself, this is it. They'll see me, really see me. No more black sheep. Just Harper, the daughter who made it. The night before departure, suitcase packed and watch box nestled like a crown jewel in my carry-on. My phone buzzed. I assumed it was the car service confirmation. Instead, it was my mother's name, all caps as usual when she wanted to prove control. Harper, after family discussion, we've decided it would be best if you didn't join us at Blue Water Cove this year. Your presence would disrupt the harmony we're trying to create for your father's birthday. I'm sure you understand. I read it twice, then 3 times. My hands shook as I dialed her number, heart hammering. But it didn't matter. She'd made up her mind. So had my father. Jason texted, "Just give it a year, sis. Not worth the drama." So I sat alone, staring at the watch meant for a father who wouldn't let me hand it to him in person, wondering how $20 million could buy everything except the seat at my family's table I'd spent my whole life trying to earn. But if they thought that text ended the story, they were about to learn exactly who I'd become. Stay right here, because my next move changes everything. The night my mother banned me from the family vacation we'd shared for 20 years, I sat on my living room floor, surrounded by the new silk dresses she'd never see me wear and a watch my father would never unwrap from my hands. I drained a $400 bottle of wine alone, scrolling through old family beach photos on my phone. In every shot, they looked so perfect, sun-kissed, smiling, together. And there I was, always a step to the side, half cropped out, as if even the camera lens knew I didn't quite fit. Somewhere between my second glass and fourth attempt to reread my mother's text without screaming, my phone lit up with a call from Zoe, my best friend since Yale and the only person who'd ever told me to keep building when the world said quit. When I told her what happened, how they'd erased me with one cold paragraph, she didn't say, "I'm sorry." Instead, she laughed so hard, she nearly snorted her mimosa. "Buy it," she said, wiping her eyes. "Buy what?" "The damn resort. Blue Water Cove. You have the money now, buy the place right out from under them. Make them check in at your front desk." I laughed too, at first. Then, later, alone in bed with that humiliating text burned into my retinas, I didn't laugh. I Googled. And there it was, a local Maine paper headline: owner of Blue Water Cove considers retirement. No heirs to take over beloved resort. It felt like fate tapping me on the shoulder, whispering, "How badly do you want to stop asking for a seat at their table?" By dawn, I'd called my financial advisor. By noon, I was sitting in a Manhattan office, spreadsheets spread out like battle plans. I liquidated stocks, called my lawyer, and booked a private flight to Maine for the very next morning. When I landed, Frank Williams, the resort's owner for 30 years, met me at the dock. He smelled like salt air and old money that never bragged about itself. He shook my hand, his grip steady and warm. "I know your family well," he said with a twinkle in his eye. "Your mother always insists on Villa Serenity. You, though, you were the curious one. Always wandering the staff areas, asking questions. You remember what makes this place tick." We walked the grounds at sunset while he talked about hydrangeas, generations of loyal guests, and how Hilton had already sniffed around with offers. But he didn't want Hilton. He wanted someone who'd love this place the way he did. I wanted more than love. I wanted my legacy to be mine. 5 days later, I signed the papers. Blue Water Cove, my family's precious summer kingdom, was mine. And in exactly 24 hours, the Johnsons would walk into their vacation home without a clue who they'd be paying rent to this time. Don't go anywhere. You're about to see exactly how a black sheep flips the whole flock upside down. 5 days after I signed the final papers, I stood in the freshly polished lobby of my newly purchased Blue Water Cove resort, heart pounding so hard I was sure the staff could hear it. Outside, the familiar silver Audi crept up the circular drive, followed by Jason's spotless Range Rover. For 2 decades, I'd watched that car parade signal the start of my family's week-long royal act. But this time, I wasn't a cast-off guest trying to impress them. This time, I owned the entire stage. Behind the front desk, Thomas, my newest hire and co-conspirator in this drama, caught my eye and gave a subtle nod. We'd rehearsed this moment like a Broadway scene. No hints, no slip-ups, just polite confusion until I stepped in for the finale. I watched through the glass doors as my mother stepped out first, immaculate in white linen pants and her signature pearls. She glanced around the entrance with her usual critical eye, already clocking the new flower arrangements she hadn't approved. Jason unfolded himself from the SUV, busy tapping at his phone, and Amanda emerged next, balancing her perfectly behaved children while Gregory followed a step behind, pretending to care. They swept inside, dragging designer luggage, exuding the same unshakable belief that this place, this luxury, belonged to them by birthright. "Welcome back to Blue Water Cove, Mrs. Johnson," Thomas greeted, the perfect blend of polite and poker-faced. My mother's eyes narrowed immediately. "These hydrangeas are wrong. We always have only blue hydrangeas in the lobby. Tell housekeeping to fix it." "Of course, ma'am," Thomas said smoothly, then added, "We have a few updates to your usual villa, as well. I think you'll find it interesting." Before she could interrogate him further, I stepped forward, letting the soft click of my new Louboutin sandals announce me. My mother froze mid-complaint. Jason's head snapped up from his phone. Amanda's kids went wide-eyed, suddenly sensing something deliciously dramatic was happening. "Hello, family," I said, my voice calm but buzzing with the kind of adrenaline that comes only when you're about to upend 2 decades of someone else's control. My mother's pearls actually rattled against her collarbone. "Harper, what on earth are you doing here?" I let the silence stretch, savoring it like the world's sweetest revenge. Then I smiled, polite, perfectly Johnson-like. "I'm here," I said, "to welcome you to my resort. I bought Blue Water Cove last week. So please enjoy your stay." Jason's jaw dropped. Amanda let out an incredulous laugh that died in her throat when she realized I wasn't kidding. My father, who'd just stepped inside, stopped dead, looking at me like he'd never really seen me before. And that, dear viewers, is how you make the family who once banished you check in at your front desk. Under your roof, your rules, your legacy. Don't blink. The real fun starts now. When I first wired the down payment for Blue Water Cove, I told myself this was my ultimate mic drop, a glamorous middle finger to a family who thought they could exile me with a single text. In my head, I imagined my mother's frozen smile, Jason's stuttering confusion, Amanda's tight little gasp when she realized the black sheep now owned the throne they'd worshipped every August. Revenge tasted sweet in those daydreams. But standing in Villa Serenity, the crown jewel cottage my parents hoarded like a royal heirloom, I realized something unsettling. I didn't want to destroy it. I wanted to save it. The same salt air drifted through the open windows as it had when I was 9, building sandcastles with Dad, laughing so hard my sides hurt. The wood floors still creaked in that spot near the porch where I'd hide with my books when family dinners got too perfect to stand. Beneath the fancy furniture and my mother's precious porcelain vases, this place held the last scraps of my childhood happiness. And now, for the first time, it was truly mine, not just as a rebellious stunt, but as a chance to shape it into something more than a status symbol. So I didn't just send out press releases or slap my name on the lobby sign. I called contractors. Flew in my favorite interior designer. Poured over booking data late at night with strong coffee and stronger resolve. Villa Serenity got new luxury bedding and discreet smart tech my mother would never understand, but would secretly love. The main lodge was refreshed without erasing its coastal charm. I ordered custom nautical art from a local artist to replace the tacky mass-produced paintings my father once bragged about. And the staff, the people who'd kept this place magical long before I held the deed, got a 15% raise and new benefits on day one. When I announced it, Sarah, the operations manager who'd been here 15 years, hugged me so hard my sunglasses nearly snapped in half. Somewhere between supervising furniture deliveries and tasting the revamped lobster boil for the restaurant's new menu, my plan for petty revenge turned into a full-scale mission. This resort wasn't just my parents' vacation spot anymore. It was my proof that I could build something meaningful without begging for their approval and make it better than they ever imagined. In 3 days, the Johnsons would walk through these doors expecting the same stale luxury. Instead, they'd find a legacy reborn under the watchful eye of the daughter they thought they'd left behind. Stay with me. Their reaction? You won't want to miss it. The first thing I noticed when my family finally crossed Blue Water Cove's lobby wasn't my mother's disapproving sniff at the new hydrangeas or Jason's distracted tap on his phone. It was the look on my father's face, that half-smile he reserved for this place alone. For 20 years, this resort had been his one sanctuary from conference calls and quarterly reports. He stepped inside and, for a moment, he was just Dad, not Richard Johnson, king of appearances. Too bad he was about to realize his kingdom had a new queen. "Welcome back, Mr. Johnson," Thomas, my trusted front desk manager, said calmly, exactly as we'd rehearsed. "Thank you," my father said, glancing around. He squinted at the freshly polished floors, the updated lobby furniture, the subtle new scent drifting from the candles I'd chosen myself. "Place looks different." Before Thomas could answer, I stepped forward from behind a newly refinished pillar. Every eye snapped to me. Amanda's jaw dropped first. Jason looked like he'd just spotted an SEC audit. And my mother, bless her pearls, made a strangled sound in her throat I'd never heard before. "Harper," my father said slowly, "what are you doing here?" I let them sit in the silence, savoring it just long enough for their disbelief to start curdling into dread. Then I smiled, the same polite, unshakable smile my mother taught me, only now it was entirely my own. "I'm welcoming you," I said, my voice calm, "to my resort." Amanda gave an incredulous laugh that died halfway out of her mouth. Jason blinked. Twice. My mother actually reached for the front desk to steady herself. "That's impossible," she snapped, regaining her edge. "Frank would never." "Frank retired," I cut in. 3 days ago. He handpicked the new owner. Me. So please, enjoy your stay. Villa Serenity has been freshly updated, exactly to your standards, plus a few improvements I think you'll love. No one moved. It was delicious. My father finally cleared his throat. "Princess, we need to discuss." "Discuss away," I said, gesturing toward the lounge area. "But your luggage is being delivered as we speak. Champagne will be waiting in the villa. Consider it a gift from your daughter. The one you banned from this very vacation." I could practically feel the tectonic shift in the air, decades of my mother's tight grip on control cracking like ice under a spring sun. Let them panic. Let them question everything they ever underestimated about me, because this was no longer their sanctuary, it was mine. And what happens next? Let's just say no one's leaving Blue Water Cove unchanged. Stay tuned. It's about to get good. I thought the best part of owning Blue Water Cove would be watching my family squirm the moment they realized they'd have to smile for my staff and sign receipts with my name at the bottom. And trust me, that moment was delicious. But what I didn't expect was what came after. On the second morning of their stay, I found my father sitting alone on the villa's wraparound porch, staring at the ocean in the same spot he used to build sandcastles with me 20 years ago. For the first time in what felt like forever, he didn't look like Richard Johnson, corporate giant. He just looked like my dad. He motioned for me to sit beside him, cleared his throat the way he always did when he had to say something that mattered. "I was wrong about you," he said quietly, eyes never leaving the water. "I thought you'd thrown your life away when you left Yale. Turns out, You were braver than I ever was. I'd imagined this conversation for years, his apology, my triumph. But sitting there, hearing him admit it, I didn't feel triumphant. I felt lighter. Like maybe I'd been carrying around his disappointment for so long, I'd forgotten it wasn't mine to bear. By midweek, Jason cornered me in the lobby, holding a stack of the resort's old financial statements. "I've been running some numbers," he said, his banker voice creeping back in. "Your seasonal revenue could double if you expand shoulder season packages. You want help analyzing projections?" My older brother, the golden child, asking to be part of my business. I handed him my laptop before he could change his mind. He stayed up late with the accounting team every night after that, crunching figures like a man finally chasing something real. Even Amanda softened. She caught me by the new flower beds I'd had installed outside Villa Serenity. "You changed the interior," she said, arms crossed, but voice gentler than I'd heard in years. "It's actually beautiful. You kept the character, but made it better. I could help stage the suites for the new brochure, if you want." And my mother? She remained the last fortress, her approval hidden behind polite nods and frosty breakfast silence. But on the last evening, she handed me an envelope. Inside was an old photo of me at Blue Water Cove, sandy knees, building a lopsided sandcastle, alone, but completely absorbed. "You always did like to build things from scratch," she murmured. And for once, there was no judgment in her eyes. This place started as my revenge. But it's become my redemption, and maybe there's two. Stick with me. Next, you'll see what I build when family pride isn't my burden anymore. It's my power. Owning Blue Water Cove didn't just change my family, it changed me. What started as a rebellion turned into my greatest project, transforming an old symbol of forced perfection into a real haven for connection. My father found peace here. Jason found purpose beyond hedge funds. Even my mother, in her quiet way, found respect for the daughter she once called a disappointment. I learned the hard way. Sometimes you'll never get the seat at someone else's table, so build your own. Set it by the ocean and let everyone see what you're truly capable of. And maybe, just maybe, the people who shut you out will end up wanting a place at your table instead. So, if you've ever been underestimated, rejected, or told you don't belong, remember, your worth isn't up for negotiation. You decide it. Drop a comment below. Have you ever turned rejection into your greatest comeback? I want to hear your story. And if mine inspired you, hit that subscribe button and share this journey with someone who needs the reminder that sometimes the best revenge is building something beautiful for yourself. Stay tuned because I'm just getting started.